Hello? I'm down here. God, this camera's positioning is shit. Wait, I know how to fix it. Boom, baby, it's called a chair. I know it might show off my gut, but at least you can see my face now, so yeah. Take that, YouTube. What's up guys, I'm Tommy Bowyer and welcome to Movie Rewind, where today I thought I would give you a special Halloween themed episode in which I would be telling you my rank of the 7 best horror movie franchises. Now these are my personal opinion. If you don't agree with these opinions, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we don't all share the same opinions. That's what makes the human race so interesting. So if you don't agree, then just comment down below and I promise I'll review it and tell you what I think. It's all about opinion. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Before we start, I would just like to state that in order to be a franchise, there needs to be more than 2 films. So, with films such as the Descent films, there's only 2 of them. So, I can't really classify that as a franchise. A franchise, for me, has more than 2 films. So, just keep that in mind when we're going through this rank, okay? So, my number 7 best horror movie franchise is the Alien films. Okay, don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me! I'm joking. I know some of you might classify these as sci-fi films, but apart from the second film, Aliens, all the other films take aspects from horror movies. So technically, I do count it as a horror movie franchise. And why do I like this franchise so much, even Prometheus, which I know is controversial? It's because they are such a defining horror movie genre which stars aliens. Before this, yeah, there might have been loads of Aliens films, but Ridley Scott's Alien was the first movie in which you could truly see how terrifying aliens were. And I think as a series, apart from Resurrection and Covenant, they're all pretty well done, pretty well directed and pretty well acted. So I've had this as my 7th best horror movie franchise because I do feel it's an incredibly good franchise which has an iconic monster and, let's face it, an iconic star in Sigourney Weaver. So now that we've got that one out of the way, my 6th best horror movie franchise is the Scream franchise. Now, I was pretty late in watching these films. I watched these in 2015, which was incredibly late. And, Wes Craven, at the time this was made, he weren't doing too good. A couple of movies he brought out were just not going well. So, Scream, in my opinion, was his final chance. And he succeeded on every level. And I understand why people love this franchise so much. It is such an interesting franchise. Not just because they're slasher movies, but they're slashers of like who done it. You don't know who did it. And Scream 1 and Scream 2 are both, in my opinion, equally as good. After Scream 3 it gets a bit, all over the place. But I like Scream as a franchise because it's iconic. Let's face it, the ghost mask killer, that is an iconic image and a really popular Halloween costume. And the aspects of the whodunit murder mystery really do fit in well. And not something you see every day in slashers anymore. So Scream has got a guaranteed place on my list. So my number 5 pick is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. God, I remember when I first saw this movie, and this came out before Halloween, and it does not get enough credit as a classic slasher. And when I first saw this film, I was sitting there like this. Why is he on a slingshot? Why is he killing people? He's cutting them up, he's cutting them up. What the hell is going on? And that's what the film does to you. It's such a traumatizing film. And as they've continued, they've got even more bloodier, more gory, which in many ways fits this franchise. I mean, even Michael Bay directed a film in this franchise. And let's face it, Michael Bay is a director who might not be the best director, but he can at least get good action across and good gore across. And in his Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, he really did do a good job. So that's why I kind of have a guilty pleasure with this franchise. It is a guilty pleasure because they're not always the best, but you know what? It's a lot of gore, and let's face it, chainsaws are always going to be one of the most deadliest things in the world after this. So Tommy, name your most favourite zombie genre. The Walking Dead? Okay, what is your most iconic zombie genre? The Walking Dead. No, name a film before The Walking Dead. There was a zombie film before The Walking Dead? No, what came before The Walking Dead? Name a zombie film which is just as successful as The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. For fuck's sake! He doesn't understand. It's George Romero's Dead series. That is my number 4th pick because George Romero's Dead series defines the zombie genre in my opinion. Not The Walking Dead, the Dead series. Now George Romero's Dead series pushed zombies into popular culture and into the spotlight. They proved that zombies, weren't stupid. They could be terrifying. And that is present in all of the films. Whether you watch night, dawn, day, they are all brilliant, and I would really recommend you watching these, and that is why it has this spot on my list, because they are just iconic films, and I hope they remain iconic for a long time after I'm dead. Hooray! We've made it into the top 3, so that means this video is nearly over. I'm joking. So, my number 3 pick is A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Let's face it, Wes Craven is best remembered for this franchise. I know I've said that the Scream films really did help him recover after a disastrous run, but the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise really did make him a star. I mean, these films, Freddy Krueger is an iconic villain, and these films are just brilliant because they're not just slashers. It is very psychological. The dream sequences involved in these films, it's very psychological. And instead of just someone killing you there and then, he plays with his victims. Freddy Krueger is actually one of my favourite villains in horror movies because he doesn't just kill people, he plays with his victims. He enjoys doing it. And you know what, let's face it, Freddy Krueger is the reason Nightmare on Elm Street is high on this list. Without him, this franchise wouldn't even be on here. But, that's why it's third on my list, because it's got an iconic villain in an iconic franchise. So there's going to be some controversy over my number 2 pick and my number 1 pick. So I'm just warning you guys now so I don't get killed. So my number 2 pick is the Friday the 13th franchise. Now I know many people would put this as their top one because it's made the most money. It has the most films. Jason Voorhees is iconic. But let's face it, the majority of these films are not actually good. I mean, even the first Friday the 13th isn't really that good. It's just a cult classic which everyone loves, but it's not really that good. To be honest, I don't think the majority of the Friday the 13th films are that good. But I've put it this high on my list because it is an iconic franchise. I mean, let's face it, hockey masks are never going to be the same again after these films. And I understand that people do enjoy these films because they are just, gore fest, just Jason Voorhees slaughtering people all the time. So I can see why it's earned its fame, and it has had incredible success. So it does deserve this high spot on my list, even though in my opinion the majority of these films are not actually that good. So, my number 1 pick, and if you're interested in horror movies you should know it by now, it is the Halloween franchise. Now let's face it, 1978 Halloween is a cult classic. It defined the the horror genre. You know, it defines slaughter movies, and it is just a brilliant film. John Carpenter did an expert job on it, and even if you don't agree that the other films since then have slowly declined, let's face it, the Halloween franchise is just probably the best one. It is iconic. I mean, the majority of the films, except a couple of exceptions, are guilty pleasures of mine. And, you know, it might have not made as much money as Friday the 13th, but it did really inspire it. I mean, Jason Voorhees is inspired by Michael Myers, and it is just such a brilliant franchise. I just love it so much. You know, it's my favourite horror movie franchise. Halloween is one of my favourite movies. I'll talk more about that in the Halloween special. Remember to keep an eye out for that. And, you know, it's just an iconic franchise which, you know, I hope will just keep going forever. It probably won't, but you know what? Let's just hope. So that concludes my picks for the top 7 best horror movie franchises. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe in order to receive great and maybe even improved content like this in the future. I mean, I do really appreciate it, guys. You know, the views, I couldn't do it without you. No one on YouTube could do it without you. I mean, you guys define what channels are a success and not. And I understand that the quality of these videos isn't brilliant. I will improve them. I just need to save up in order to do that. So remember to keep an eye out for my Halloween special review where I will be joined for a brief moment by Ryan Flack, who will be starring in it for a short while. But you know what? It's one of the best moments in the review. So I will see you guys in another one. See ya!